Welcome back, listeners, to another motivating episode of the Way Up Podcast. I'm your host, Geoff Knoll, and today we're joined by a remarkable guest, Skyler Rader. Skyler is no stranger to the world of sales and service, having navigated through various industries from grassroots of lawn care to the intricacies of banking and social media marketing. But Skyler's story isn't just about career progression. It's about the profound transformations that shape our lives. One pivotal moment, a lawn mowing mishap resulting in the loss of his big toe, served as the catalyst for a significant shift in his perspective and priorities. Today, Skyler not only shares his journey with us, but also the wisdom he's gained along the way. What makes this episode even more special is that Skyler is also the host of Sky the Service Guy podcast, where he delves into the intricacies of service-oriented industries. His experience and insights are sure to leave a lasting impression. So, get ready to be inspired as Skyler opens up about his journey, offering powerful insights and perspectives that challenge the status quo and ignite the spark of personal and professional growth. I am with my new friend, Skyler Rader. Thank you, brother, for coming on the show.
Totally welcome, Geoff. It's Rader, by the way.
Rader.
The only people that get away with that was the old football coaches.
Okay.
Call me Radar.
Well,
so
I've heard it both ways. So
you're fine. It's the story of my life.
Rader. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, so I'm glad that you came here to share your story with us. I got to meet you last week when we recorded on your podcast. You are Sky, the service guy.
That's right.
And you have people come on and just talk about what they do in the different industries that they're in.
Yeah, the podcast focuses around sales, service, marketing, what they do, what their story is, and just kind of how business works. Very similar to your podcast, where it's focused around personal successes and sharing best practices, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I was grateful that you had me come on and get to share my story with your audience. I appreciate that. That meant a lot. But I'm glad that you're here because I want to hear your story. And I haven't really. I got a little bits and pieces from our last conversation, but I want to hear what got you where you are and how you have ended up in this place in life.
Sure. It's been kind of a unique ride. I wouldn't recommend anybody to take the journey that I took. I started off doing door-to-door sales for a lawn care company while I was going to school for firefighting and paramedics. And it turns out I'm afraid of heights. So that wasn't going to be really the direction for my life anyway. But I was making more money doing sales than my firefighter friends. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. And I did that for a few years. And then I got into management and started making really great money. And the guy I was working for, so we sold fertilizer and weed control. I don't know if you're familiar with like True Green. You guys have True Green out there in Missouri? Okay.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they do, in Ohio, I live in the ground zero for lawn care. Like lawn care was literally invented 20 miles from where I live in Troy, Ohio. So it's a pretty competitive market for lawn care in the first place. And on top of that, I got into it. So I'm doing door to door. I'm teaching other people how to do it. Essentially, the way the owner had it was you ran your own little marketing company inside of his business. And we did really good. We went from doing a couple $100,000 in sales to a couple $1 million. He sold, I think, for around $5 or $6 million. And when he sold, we restarted in different markets. So I went out to Indianapolis. My brother-in-law and his brother, they went down to Cincinnati. We did that for a while. Ultimately, I was homesick. My now wife was here in Dayton, Ohio. So it was about an hour and a half drive from Indianapolis to her, which isn't terrible, but it's hard to do that during the week. So we literally only seen each other on weekends for about a year. Finally, I just kind of got burnt out, and I ended up switching branches and going down to Cincinnati with my brother-in-law and his brother. And they had an opportunity to leave the business to start their own. And I kind of replaced both of them. So I went from just being a sales manager to being a regional sales manager, which was really cool. So I managed Cincinnati.
Not the assistant to the
regional. No, I wasn't Dwight Schrute. No, I was full Michael Scott. And I mean that
okay. I like that.
In a humble way. It was at times I definitely embarrassed myself because I was 21 and I was managing, average salesperson was probably like 35 to 45,
Nice.
so
So
I got
people,
a lot of eye
so
rolls.
people hated you. They're like, this
Yes.
punk, this
Yeah.
stinking guy.
Yeah. And I made a lot of mistakes, so, but you learn from them.
Sure.
Kind of long story short, though, I ended up having the opportunity to open up a branch in Dayton. And I had created this job where I'm managing 5 locations. I'm one man, and these are cross state locations. So every day I'm going to a different state. And it was just, I kind of turned this into a big mess. And around that time, I had my first child, my son. And I just kind of had this epiphany like, this is not the lifestyle I can live and be present in my son's life. My dad died when I was 11. So he missed out on a lot of the good stuff. But I just wanted different for my son where I could be present and have a certain lifestyle. So I told the owner what I wanted to do. And me and him, it's not his fault. We just couldn't come up with a solution to do the job the way it needed to be done from a 9 to 5 aspect. We worked more like 12 to 10. We
Got you.
worked when everybody else was home,
Yeah.
So I ended up taking a job at US Bank. I talked my way in there, just being a part of a small business for so many years. They let me be one of their small business bankers. So I did what they considered a micro business. My actual title was business banking specialist, but if you've got any bankers listening, they know that those titles mean nothing. They literally change every quarter. Your job description changes every quarter.
Well, it
I did
sounds
that for
fancy. I
it
do
did.
like that.
And I was good at my job. I'm good at relating with people and helping small business owners. And it was a lot of fun. I covered 28 branches. I was number 1 in our state. So that was awesome. Got to go out to a fancy convention in Reno, Nevada and rub shoulders with a bunch of
Ooh,
people from California.
I
Yeah.
like that.
I didn't leave the resort for like 4 days. I was indoors for 4 days. It was the weirdest thing in my life. But along the way here, Geoff, I had gained a lot of weight. I'm an old football player. So when I quit playing football, I just kind of exploded like a can of biscuits. And I was really starting to push around 400 pounds. I think the last time I looked at the scale was like 387.
Mm,
And I just told myself I wasn't going to look at the scale anymore. My nicest shirt was this Cleveland Browns loose fit, dry fit pullover. And I've got Christmas pictures, wearing something like that. I look like a whole
hmm
kind of the transformation you went through, not as extreme as yours, but I look like a whole different person.
Yeah.
And working at the bank for 2 years, and I took a huge pay cut to work at the bank, and I thought I could make it up with bonuses. And they move the targets a lot. So your activity and game plan is always changing. And I just couldn't get there. So I bought a house to flip. And a little bit about real estate.
hmm
So I went into it in the blind. I didn't know what I was doing. I spent 25 grand on the house. I partnered with somebody else who put up another 25 grand. And we worked on that house 7 days a week for 10 months. We did everything ourselves. And during this time, my wife had gotten pregnant with our second child. And the depression and the frustration and the stress of life was really creeping in on me, because you work 7 days a week, 2 jobs for 10 months, it'll start to get to you. Silver lining, when she was born, I got 4 weeks off leave from the bank. It's something that I think that's great. They do that for men. So, kudos to them for giving me that opportunity to be with my daughter for the first 4 weeks of her life.
That is cool.
My very last day of leave, it was, she was born in September 28th. So like at the end of October, very last day of leave, I decided to cut my grass, probably do the final cut of the year. And it was a little wet that morning, but I had to get it done because I went to work the next day. And on the side of my house, there's a hill, and I slipped. And when I slipped, I pulled the mower up on me. I held on to the mower, and I pulled the mower up on myself. And by the grace of God, I only cut off my big toe. At the time, I thought it was worse because the blades on my mower were pretty dull. So it didn't actually cut my foot. It shredded it. It
Yeah.
wasn't a clean cut. So
Mm,
get your blades sharpened, folks.
no doubt.
I thought I was going to die, though, because of my paramedic training. There's actually an artery that runs parallel to your big toe in that first digit to the left. And that's where my accident was. And I was bleeding really bad. So I thought I hit an artery. So I thought I had a chance to bleed out. So I go to the front door, I take my shirt off, wrap my foot in my shirt, talking to my wife, telling her where the life insurance policies are, and hey, do this, this, and this, call the bank, let them know what's going on, that kind of thing, because I was supposed to be at work the next day. Anyway, I go to the hospital. My brother-in-law meets me there. His name's Chris. He's a very successful entrepreneur. Me and him work together still at a different business now. And Chris, he's just a total jokester the whole time. He's like, man, when we get out of here, I'm going to buy you some tofu to celebrate. We're going to get you a tow truck. I mean, he's just laying it on thick with the tow jokes. So that was really a wake-up call for me. One thing I hadn't really addressed in my life was my sleep apnea. Being overweight, most overweight people have it. I always snored, even when I was a kid, before I was overweight. So I just thought, I didn't think anything of it. And come to find out, my sleep apnea was so bad that my oxygen levels would get so low that after my amputation and my hospital time, during that time, they had to take me off the pain meds because my oxygen levels were so low that they thought I could pass away. So that was pretty scary. Getting sent home with an oxygen tank to sleep with.
How old are you at this point? The Way Up Podcast is proudly brought to you by my real estate team, the Noble Team eXp Realty. We're redefining industry standards in the markets we operate. Distinguishing ourselves from the crowd, we leverage our uniqueness to gain a strategic edge, all while elevating not only ourselves, but also those in our world, including our competitors. Join us on this journey of innovation and excellence. Your time and investment will undoubtedly be well placed. Hang with us till the end. I know you won't be disappointed.
So at this point, I am 28 when this happened.
Years old. Man.
Yep, 28. And I'm like, man, what is going on? You know, my only thing going through my mind is I just want to be able to play with my kids. I just want to live a normal life, you know? And, you know, it's sad going back and looking at pictures of my son when he was little, and every picture I'm laying down on the couch, every picture I'm sitting down. I didn't realize what I was doing to myself. You know, you don't know how bad it is until you have that, how you phrased it, that mortality motivation moment. So I get sent home, and what was really bad wasn't actually the amputation. I mean, that stunk. Don't get me wrong. Losing anything stinks, but I had an infection, and the infection kept spreading up my leg. So I would go for my follow-up, and the doctor would be like, hey, we might have to take your foot. We might have to take your knee. We might have to take your leg. Like, the rubber's going to hit the road. You're going to have to make a decision. And they kept putting me on these different antibiotics. And the very last antibiotic the doctor gave me, he said, this is it. This is the last one before we have to take something. And it worked. So thank God for that. It was kind of an incredible ride. But during that, I got on a CPAP machine. That first year on the CPAP machine, I probably lost 50, 60 pounds just getting a good night's sleep. It put me in a position to wake up well rested, to get into the gym, to start focusing on my diet. So here we are, 4 going on 5 years later. I've lost probably around 80 pounds.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. Put on some muscle too along the way. Some of that football muscle came back, which is nice. And it really changed the way I looked at myself. I went to this special fitness nutrition place where they measure bone mass, they measure your muscle, they measure your body fat. I'm still high on the body fat, but when they told me how much muscle and bone mass I had, the two numbers added up to around 270 pounds. So that really changed the way I looked at myself and went, okay, there is such a thing as just being a bigger person. How do I manage this in a healthy way? And since then, since last Labor Day, I go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. I actually went this morning. Thinking about you, I went this morning.
Nice.
I do a little intermittent fasting Monday through Friday, and I just try not to eat late. And I feel like I'm consistently losing, over the last 4 years, I feel like I'm consistently losing about a half pound every week, every 2 weeks, somewhere in there without doing anything crazy. You know? So all of that led me to the decision, because I was on leave from the bank where I had time to think and just kind of enjoy that time with my daughter. I was off for about 3 months, where I made the decision when it was time to go back to not go back and have a very candid conversation with my manager. I had helped other business owners and I had worked for a small business, and now I wanted to work for myself. So I partnered with my brother-in-law. By then he was doing his own lawn care company. And we decided that I was going to do a mulch business and I was going to market his customers. And we did that for a while. And then COVID hit, and the labor force wanted, I don't know what it was like in Missouri, but our folks got, they got their unemployment plus $600 a week.
Yep. Yeah, that happened here too.
Some guys who spread mulch only make $400 or $500 a week in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't compete with unemployment. I ended up selling the business, which we sold it for a profit, which was cool. I mean, that was a big deal.
That is
sold
cool.
That house I had, by the way, for a profit.
Good.
That was good. A lot of guys lose on their first one. I found out from talking to other people. They're like, "You didn't lose? That's great."
It can happen. It can happen actually pretty quick. All those little expenditures, putting in
adds up.
Different things, you can dump a bunch of money into something and not be able to recoup it.
We went back and looked at the receipts. We spent $1,000 on paper towels and lunches.
Wow. Yeah.
Over 10 months.
It happens quick. It can happen.
That's only $100 a month. But
it's really not that bad.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, when that ended, I became a part of their business, and I do all of their commercial relationships. We own a service business now that does lawn care, HVAC, pest control. And then I have a separate business of my own where I use social media marketing to help increase someone's footprint. So that's kind of the whole story. But having that mortality moment, it really changed my perspective. Life is short. I'm going to start going after the things I want. I'm going to be healthy for my kids. I don't miss any games. I coach my kids in all their sports. I'm out there running around with the kids and playing. It's a dream come true. It's the life I dreamed of having.
Yeah, that very thing, just wanting to be there, be present for your family. That's a life-changing thing. I'm not saying that people have to go through something terrible, but when you do go through something and you feel like you may not be here tomorrow, it really opens your eyes as to, this is serious. We get one chance at this. We have one body. We need to take care of what we have.
Yeah.
And do the most with it so that we can be present for our families, be the example for our children that they need from us.
Right. It's funny, after what happened, well, it's not funny, but just my perspective. My wife and I were talking. She's like, I feel like you lost about 10 years there, from the time you were 18 to 28. She's like, you lost about 10 years where you probably weren't the best version of yourself. And we had been married about 5 years at that point. And she tells me all the time, she said, the husband you were before wasn't bad, but this guy now is like a whole different person.
Yeah.
And just getting those little confirmations. I mean, that's all the motivation I need, along the way to stay disciplined and kind of put things in perspective, knowing that she sees a change too.
It does make a difference when you have people, especially outside. It's one thing, your spouse probably doesn't see the changes every day because they see you every day, the people in your household. But when you see somebody that you don't see every day and they're like, oh, what the heck? Who's this guy? What's going on? What are you doing? Are you on crack? Something's going on because you're losing weight like crazy. I had people tell me that I looked sick. I'm like, really? Because I feel better than I have maybe ever. I look sick.
You look healthy.
I'm like, okay, I don't think y'all know what sick looks like. I just used to be a fat guy. And now, praise God, I'm doing something about it. So, I totally get that. It makes a difference when you hear from somebody else. You're like, okay, this is working. This is something. Because you look in the mirror every day. And unless you're taking pictures every day, have you ever done 75 hard or any of those challenges?
Yeah. So, I didn't really do 75 hard. I just, for me, I was like, all my friends were starting it in January in Ohio. I'm like, I'm not going to go outside and work out.
So cold outside.
I'm like, but I did do like my version of 75 soft,
Okay.
where I worked out every day for 75 days. I read my pages. I think he says to do, Andy Frisella is the guy that came up with that.
Yep.
I think he says to do 10. I read about 5, but I spent a significant amount of time praying during that 75 days, where it was to build that habit, right? And, work on more positive things. During that, one of my favorite things to eat is breakfast. I love breakfast, but I feel like breakfast is the thing that makes me fat. So during that, I didn't have breakfast. It was just one of those things. So I did kind of my own version. I think if you work out hard enough once a day, maybe that's all you need. I don't know.
Well,
It's
I did 75 hard, and I can tell you that there was definitely times I was like, this can't be healthy. Like this,
right.
this cannot be. It was mental anguish if I got to like 7 o'clock in the evening and I still have one of my workouts, or I have half a gallon of water to drink. Like, man, this is rough. This is rough.
Right.
There's got to be a better way. But I think that the real win from it was the mental win. Yes,
Right.
I did lose some weight doing 75 hard too, but I didn't enjoy, I definitely didn't enjoy it. It was brutal.
Yeah. For me, it's like more like you said about the mental part of it, where I
Hmm.
just had to convince myself, like, hey, this is a choice. And it just made me more top of mind for decisions moving forward.
Right.
So there was a lot of guys at the office that did it. And I just see them like on day like 55, just miserable.
Oh
They're
my
cutting out of the
goodness.
office in the middle of their shift to go run around the
Hmm.
go run around the industrial complex we work at. And I'm like, no, I'm good.
Well, being an entrepreneur and doing 75 hard too, there was wins that came with it, but there was also, I had to put some of my workload in the back seat to be able to accomplish all of the other things.
Right.
I already get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start doing everything. I'm like, man, there's not enough time in the day to keep this whole thing going. I'm juggling too many balls at once, and something's
Right.
gonna fall. I don't have enough hands to keep this going. But I I really want to hear, what is something that you can identify from your journey that set you up for success?
So I've actually been asked that a few times. One thing that I would tell everyone to not discount is the company you keep. If you surround yourself with people where what's important to them is having drinks on the weekend, or they're only looking forward to going to that next sporting event, which I love sports as much as the next person. But if that's the only things they're looking forward to is partying, then you can kind of see the writing on the wall. So I make it a point that, like my brother-in-law, he's extremely successful, multiple businesses. We had a very similar journey, but during that journey, there was a point where he had better friends than me. He was a better friend to me than I was to him. And I see the difference in that. And obviously I don't want to take away his effort or whatnot, or even my own effort, but you really become a product of the company you keep. So my advice to anybody was, just remember, birds of a feather flock together. You're
Hmm.
hanging out with somebody and you just ask them the question, hey, where are you going to be in 3 years? What's your goals? And they can't give you like a straight answer. That's probably somebody that either one, you need to disassociate yourself with, or, if it's an extremely important relationship to you, I'd encourage you to get them on the same page as you. But, you just can't let the status quo
And
continue to be the status
that's a
quo.
rough thing to do too, whenever
So hard.
when you got the people around you that you love and you care about, but they're not in the same place in their
Yeah.
journey that you are.
Yep.
They feel like you're, talking down to them because they're not doing what you're doing. If you're just trying to encourage them to do things to live a better life for themselves. But they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're better than me now that
Yeah.
you don't do this." So
I,
you went to something too. You said associating with people that are drinking all the time or just looking forward to that. Do you
mhm.
drink alcohol at all? And I ask
Yeah.
because I went a very long time. I would drink. I was never just a super heavy drinker. I guess I went through a phase when I was in my 20s that yeah, I maybe
Yeah,
drank
most people do when it's
too
new
much.
to them, right? Yeah.
But I was definitely a social drinker. I was the weekend drinker,
Yeah.
and I don't I don't think there's anything necessarily inherently wrong with having a drink. I don't at all. But I have quit drinking for health reasons, not and
Hmm.
because I don't want to be I act different. It changes the way I behave.
Sure.
And I don't want to be known as the jackass that gets drunk and
Right. Nobody wants to be
does
that guy.
inappropriate things.
Right.
I know this about myself. It's self-awareness that
Hmm.
I I put myself into bad situations, and I don't want to be that guy. That doesn't align with who I am. So for those reasons, I've pretty well quit drinking. I went on a cruise and I had a few drinks. I'm just like, you know what? This will be okay. And it was mentally tough for me. It was a challenge. It was like, okay, I don't identify with that anymore.
Right.
And I'm doing it. But that was a really hard shift for me to get into a person that doesn't whenever. That's what I did for entertainment. All of the things that we did, we were going places where we would drink and everybody's drinking and I'm not. And I'm like, okay, I feel like the duck out of water. I feel out of place everywhere I'm
Sure.
going. I don't know what my hobbies are. I don't know what I'm doing. The only
Right.
things that I associate that I enjoyed for the longest time was work. And I do enjoy what I do. That's great. But I feel like you got to have something different than just work to have a semblance of balance in your life.
Sure. I agree.
And so did you go through any of that? Do you
Yeah. I mean, so when I had my accident, leading up to that, I was probably somebody who enjoyed one too many beverages on a weekend. I was never the butt of any jokes where it's, oh, here comes, so and so again. I wasn't that guy, but it was definitely what came along with it was unhealthy habits. I would drink and then you eat
yeah,
greasy bar food.
you go to Taco Bell after, or you go to
Right.
the
You go to
Waffle
Taco
House.
Bell, you order a cheeseburger that you probably would have went without, and all that adds up. So
Yeah.
I still do have a beverage once in a while, but me and my wife, we've got very, very strict rules for our relationship where we really only enjoy drinks together. We don't drink with our kids and we don't drink with other people. So if we're on a date and we're celebrating, like we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, we went on a cruise ourselves. We had a few drinks while we were on the cruise, just
Mhm.
me and her, whatever. But you're not going to find me doing it around my kids. You're not going to find me doing it normally. It's not something that's truly like has a determining factor in my life. So I don't think I have a problem with it, but if you overdo it, it can lead to other problems. So, for me, I would say if I had to rate the consumption, I probably went from, 100% being way too many to probably less than 5% now being, you know, I might have one or two drinks a month, if that,
Yeah.
so it's not something that I'm looking forward to. It's not something I'm planning my day around. It's not something that's high on my priority list, but it used to be. It used to be a part of that's
Right.
what we would do. Hey, we had a great sales week. Let's go celebrate. Let's go, whatever. And that was just really, really unhealthy.
I have
So,
found that I save a lot of money not drinking. You dump when you're drinking especially you go to a restaurant or a bar or something, you getting some
oh, it's
drinks,
$4 or $5 a drink,
you're
ten
gonna
bucks a drink.
spend some dollars. So
Yeah.
drinking water saves a lot of money beyond
Hmm.
just being healthy. It's
Right.
positive. Got some
Well,
positives.
even like when we go out to a restaurant, I don't order pop. I'm not going to spend
No,
four or
I don't.
$5 on a Coke. I mean, it's like if I spend that on a Coke, I feel like I got to have 12 of them to get my money's worth. So it's like,
Mhm.
I'll just have water.
So in
So,
my weight loss journey too, soda was like one of the first things to go, just because they
mhm.
say that you consume so many calories from beverages. I'm like, man, if I'm watching my calorie intake, I'm gonna be eating some food because I love food. I really
Sure.
like Mexican
It's one of the best
food.
parts about being alive.
Yeah, if I had to cut out Mexican food, sadness. I don't know.
Right.
I part of being healthy is enjoying variety and things in life that are good. So in
Hmm.
moderation, it's all good.
Right.
You can do
Right.
things in moderation and it's fine.
Well, like one of my things, I mean, just a simple thing is I've really cut out a lot of fast food. But at the beginning, it was tough. Like, I work, if I was skipping breakfast, I didn't really want to pack my lunch. And then I like to get out of the office for 30 minutes. And just, even if I go to a McDonald's or something, I just want to be out of the office for 30 minutes. So I went from ordering like a large combo to a medium to a small to now it's, something with a coupon and a water, if
Hmm.
that, so like you said, moderation and just being aware of it, like where
Yeah,
it's like, I kind of got into the habit for a long time of, if I was eating fast food, I was ordering two sandwiches,
me too.
right?
When I was fast food, I would go to McDonald's, I'd get a double cheeseburger and I'd get the McDouble and the McChicken every time
Yep.
and a soda
Yep.
and
And a
a
fry.
dollar fry and a dollar fry.
Yeah.
I was like,
And when
man,
they
this
have
is a
the apple
great
pies, two for a
deal.
dollar, give me two of them too,
Yeah, great deal. I'm saving so much money. I'm like, man,
Right.
I was doing that almost every day. Crazy.
Right. Yeah. So it's just being more conscious of that stuff. Yeah, that's been a huge thing. And I noticed once again the money you save, like you don't think you're spending that much on fast food, whether it be $5 to $10, but you do that 5 times a week, there's $50.
Yeah.
4 times a month, that's $200. I mean, I don't know what your bills are, but $200 would still help me on any bill I got. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a notable amount of dollars.
right? $2,400 a year, and that's the low end, right? That's not including going out to eat with the wife and the
Right.
kids,
Yeah,
and
that's the
uh,
just running through the fast food.
right. So
Crazy.
yeah, so I had to, that was a habit that was kind of hard for me to break, but I started with substituting like a regular Coke for a diet, and then eventually getting to smaller, and then a water. We drink some pop at home, but like I don't even have one a day. I mean, if that. Sometimes I want like a diet cola with, like last night we made like French bread pizzas. Like we made our own homemade ones,
Okay.
where I use like a smaller loaf or whatever. And I wanted like a Diet Coke with that, so I had one with that, but that was it. So, and I
Well,
only had one. I only
good
had
for
one,
you, man.
so.
I'm excited for the transformation that you're going through. And
Mhm.
I do hope that you spend some time just thinking about how far you've come. That
Sure.
every time that I sit and I'm going through the things that I'm grateful for, and if I start to worry about, I have all kinds of dreams and things that I want to do and accomplish that I haven't made yet, that I'm not there yet. It's a work in progress.
Right.
But when I take a minute and think about how far I've come, like, okay, I'm good. This is
Right.
great. You know what? I'm thoroughly enjoying how I get to spend my time. I'm always going to have struggles. No matter what level we get to, we're still going to have
Sure.
challenges to overcome. So just getting to a point where you can have the perspective and the mindset that I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful that I've gone through the struggles that I have. I'm so grateful that I got sick in 2021. It changed my life. And
Right.
you can probably be very grateful you pulled a lawnmower onto your foot and did a bonehead thing
I
because
tell
it
people
changed
all the
your
time,
life.
it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
I wish I would have
Same.
done it sooner.
Same. Yeah. The
you
struggles
know,
we go through form who we become. And that
yeah,
is powerful that we can change just by wanting that bad enough, by realizing this isn't what I want. This isn't how I want people to know me. I want,
what I wanted 5 years ago, I have almost everything I wanted 5 years ago today.
yeah, that's powerful, dude.
And I wanted more flexibility. I wanted to be there for my kids. I didn't want to be stuck in just a regular 9 to 5. I wanted to make X amount of money. I wanted this. I wanted that. I wanted more vacation time. I wanted all this stuff. And I got just about everything I want. Now I got new goals now, but
And you have
I
new
mean, just
struggles and challenges.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
But if 5 years ago you would have told me where I'm at now, I would have laughed. Like, what's going to change to get me there?
Same.
Yeah.
Same, dude. That's powerful. I'm so glad you reached out to me for one. Thank you so much. That is awesome. I'm glad we connected. I want to stay connected with you.
Yes, sir. You too.
What is something that you would leave my listeners with?
Ooh, if you don't have kids, you might not understand this. But when I'm frustrated in public, when I'm frustrated in business, when I'm frustrated behind closed doors, I always try to pretend that my kids are watching me. And I try to react in a way that they wouldn't know that I'm frustrated. So don't let anyone catch you sweating. Take a deep breath. Try to react to any problem or situation or challenge in a way that you don't want to show all your cards, because there's something to be said to just being calm and cool and collected in the moment. And I'm a very high strung person, so that'd be the biggest thing I think that I could attribute some of my failures and successes to is overreaction. But typically you're going to end up more on the dangerous side by overreacting. So stay calm, pretend that somebody you care about is watching you, and react in a way where they wouldn't know that you're upset.
That is very good advice. I was changing the battery on my lawnmower yesterday, and the bolt had gotten really corroded on one of the terminals. And I tried reusing the bolt, cleaned it up a little bit, but it was junk. It was messed up. I couldn't get it tight. It took me about an hour to locate another one, going through all the stuff in my garage and my shed, piecing together another bolt and another nut that I could use. And I got to a point where I was like, I was losing it. I was mad. I was like, man, this is taking me an hour. This is supposed to be like a 5-minute job max, taking me an hour, and I've got a list of things to do. So frustrating. So I needed to hear that. I could definitely do some. It would do me some good too.
I know it's not the same thing, but if I put together furniture, it'll bring all my demons out. So that's just something I don't do.
Mechanic work. Yeah, there's a number of things that I'm like, you know what? I'm really grateful that I don't do that for a job. I'm glad there's people that do, but man, I don't want to ever do that job. Just makes me so angry. But Sky, you're the man. I appreciate you coming on. How can people find you? Me. We're gonna put it in the link, but how can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Skyler Rader, SKYLERRADER. You can also check out my website. That's STSGmarketing.com, or email me at Skyler@STSGmarketing.com. Essentially, I do social media marketing for small businesses. I have a diverse background in the service business. I've heard me talk about lawn care, pest control, HVAC, mulch. I've done, if it's a business that gets invited to someone's home, I can help you. But yeah, that's how you get in touch with me. I'd love to help anybody who's out there, but more importantly, I hope you keep listening to Geoff and help him make a difference in the world.
Yeah. And check out your podcast.
Yeah, my podcast. It's the STSG Podcast. I'm Sky, the service guy. I have episodes every Monday, and Geoff's episode will actually come out. If you want to watch him on my show, it is going to be around mid-June, probably June 10th. That's a Monday. That's when Geoff's episode comes out.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. You have a lovely day, and thank you once again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Geoff.
Yeah, boy.